Your silence is a lie you tell yourself to feel safe. When someone hurts you and you shut down, you think you are exercising self-control, but you are actually experiencing a collapse. You believe that by going quiet, you are protecting your dignity or winning the conflict by refusing to engage. You are wrong. That silence isn't a shield. It is a cage that you are locking from the inside. Within the first 10 seconds of a confrontation, you have already decided that your voice has no power, and that is a dangerous way to live. If you continue to treat withdrawal as a strength, you will eventually find yourself surrounded by people who have no idea who you actually are. This video is going to dismantle the quiet protector myth and show you how to turn that paralyzing silence into a strategic vocal power. You will learn why your brain betrays you in the heat of the moment. Let's get you your voice back. I know that feeling, the sudden tightness in the throat, the heat in your chest, and the immediate total disappearance of every word you've ever known. It's an isolating, frustrating experience that makes you feel like a passenger in your own body. I am not going to sugarcoat this. Your silence is often a trauma response disguised as a personality trait. It is a habit that ruins relationships and stunts your personal growth. To change it, you have to understand the biological and psychological mechanics behind it. Here are the 6 truths about the psychology of silence and how you can break the cycle for good. Your brain is offline. You feel the heat in your chest and suddenly the words disappear. You aren't choosing to be quiet. You are physically unable to speak. This is the freeze response in action. When you feel threatened, your brain's emotional center, the amygdala, takes over and initiates an amygdala hijack. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the part of you that handles logic, reasoning, and complex language. Psychologists call this flooding, where your nervous system is so overwhelmed by stress hormones that the speech centers of your brain literally lose power. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, has observed that the ultimate human freedom is the ability to choose one's response in the space between stimulus and reaction. He realized that when the brain is flooded with fear, that space disappears, and the capacity for speech is the first thing to go. He survived by consciously widening that space, even in the most horrific conditions imaginable. Carry a physical anchor, like a coin or a small stone, in your pocket every day. When you feel the silence starting to take over, squeeze that object as hard as you can. This physical sensation forces your brain to engage with your tactile senses, which helps pull your prefrontal cortex back online. This simple act of grounding can give you the 5 seconds of clarity you need to say one word instead of saying nothing. Now, silence is not peace. You tell yourself you're staying quiet to avoid an argument. You think you're being the bigger person by not escalating the situation or saying something you might regret later. Avoiding conflict doesn't actually resolve it. It just buries the problem alive where it can rot. When you go quiet to keep the peace, you are actually engaging in conflict avoidance, which builds a massive wall of hidden resentment. This is a form of emotional debt that eventually collects interest and destroys your intimacy with others. Abraham Lincoln was famous for writing what he called hot letters to generals who frustrated or disobeyed him. He would pour all his anger, vitriol, and logic onto the page, then put the letter in a desk drawer and never send it. He understood that he had to process the emotion and give it a voice, even if that voice stayed private for a moment. He didn't let the silence turn into a mental poison that would ruin his judgment or his character. Write a shitty first draft of what you want to say on a piece of paper or in a digital note the moment you feel yourself shutting down. Do not show it to the other person, and do not worry about being fair or nice in the writing. Externalizing the words onto paper prevents them from turning into a toxic internal narrative. Once the words are out of your head, you will find it much easier to speak the calm, rational version of them aloud. You are giving away power. You think your silence makes you look mysterious, controlled, or even slightly intimidating to the person who hurt you. You imagine the other person is sitting there, reflecting on their mistakes because of your lack of response. In reality, silence almost always signals a total lack of agency. When you stop communicating, you lose every bit of your ability to influence the outcome of the situation. You are essentially letting the other person dictate the entire narrative of why you are upset and what should happen next. Eleanor Roosevelt once noted that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. By staying quiet, You are consenting to whatever version of the story the other person creates in their own head. You are handing them the keys to your emotional state and hoping they drive you somewhere safe. Yet speak one truth anchor out loud, even if your voice shakes and your heart is hammering against your ribs. Say, "I am hurt right now and I don't know why yet," or "I need a moment because I'm feeling overwhelmed." This simple sentence keeps you in the driver's seat of the conversation. It requires no complex arguments, but it ensures that you are an active participant in the room rather than a ghost. Kill your inner narrator. While you are being quiet on the outside, your head is absolutely screaming. You are replaying the insult, imagining even worse ones, and building a massive legal case against the person you love. This process is what psychologists call rumination. Without the reality check of actual conversation, your brain creates a distorted, or dark version of reality where you are the victim and everyone else is the villain. You start to believe your own assumptions as if they are objective, undeniable facts. Charles Darwin suffered from chronic anxiety and would often retreat into deep, heavy silence when he felt criticized or misunderstood. He found that the longer he stayed in his own head, the more his physical health declined and his perspective warped. Only by engaging with his peers and airing out his ideas did he find relief from the mental loops that threatened to paralyze his work. Set a silence limit of exactly 30 minutes. If you have been quiet for more than half an hour, you must say one thing to the other person about your physical state rather than your mental thoughts. Say, "My heart is racing," or "My stomach feels tight." This breaks the echo chamber before it becomes a prison and forces you to reconnect with the world outside your own skull. Stop editing your pain. You go quiet because you're afraid that if you started talking, you wouldn't be able to stop. You're terrified that your real feelings are too messy, too loud, or too dramatic for the people around you to handle. This is emotional suppression, a habit often learned in childhood when big emotions were treated as inconveniences or threats. You shut down to stay safe and likable, but you are actually just erasing yourself to make things easier for everyone else. Frida Kahlo used her art to scream because she couldn't always find the words for her physical and emotional agony. She didn't wait for her pain to be neat or acceptable before she put it on the canvas. She put the raw, bleeding reality of it out there for the world to see. Her power came from her refusal to edit her experience for the comfort of the viewer. Use a feeling scale from 1 to 10 the next time you feel the urge to go silent. When you're hurt, just say the number out loud. "I'm at an 8 right now." It requires zero eloquence and zero editing, but it alerts the other person to the severity of your internal state. This creates a bridge for them to meet you where you are without you needing to have a perfect, polished script ready. Own your return. The initial hurt has passed and you feel better, but now you feel incredibly awkward. You've been quiet for so long that speaking up now feels like a massive, embarrassing production that will draw unwanted attention. This is the vulnerability hangover. You've built a fortress to protect yourself, and now you're afraid that walking out the front door makes you look weak or inconsistent. You stay quiet not because you're still hurt, but because you're ashamed of the silence itself. After years of self-imposed isolation, the writer J.D. Salinger found it nearly impossible to re-enter public life or publish new work. The wall he built to protect his privacy eventually became a barrier he couldn't break, even when he desperately wanted to be heard again. He became a prisoner of the very boundaries he created to keep himself safe. I'll use a bridge phrase to end the silence as soon as you feel the initial wave of hurt subside. Don't try to solve the original problem right away. Say, "I'm ready to talk now, but I'm feeling a bit awkward about how long I've been quiet." Acknowledging the awkwardness kills its power instantly and allows you to reconnect without the heavy, suffocating baggage of the silent treatment. Your silence isn't a weapon you use against others. It is a wall you build against yourself. You think you're protecting your heart from further damage, but you are actually starving it of the very connection and understanding it needs to heal. True strength isn't the ability to shut down. It's the courage to stay open when every instinct you have is telling you to hide. When you find the words, you find your power. Your brain goes offline during a hijack. Silence is never actual peace. Staying quiet gives away your agency. Your inner narrator distorts the truth. You must stop editing your pain for others. You have to own the return after a period of withdrawal. The most important conversation you will ever have is the one you're currently trying to avoid. Speak up, not because it's easy, but because you deserve to be heard. If this perspective shifted something for you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive into the habits that are holding you back. It's the best way to support the channel and keep this content coming. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What is the one truth anchor you're going to use the next time you feel yourself shutting down? Let's start the conversation there.